I'm Tillem, I'm a lawyer. I was on the radio in the Bay Area for over 20 years. I did a Call in the Lawyer talk show. Not doing that anymore. I'm still in practice. I've got an office with 3 other lawyers I work with in Sonoma, but I'm going to start doing these videos. Today's topic is sexual harassment. See, as soon as I say the word sexual, I get everybody's attention. It's just the way it works. A friend of my daughter's, her name is Melissa, she must be 21 years old, was working at an ice cream store selling ice cream. You know, it was a summer job. It gets busy in an ice cream store in the summer. She's selling ice cream, scooping it out, selling hot fudge, those kinds of things. Turns out the owner is this typical kind of a lech, you know, a guy in his late 40s with a big gut who thinks he's smart and funny, and all of a sudden, when they're going behind the counter, he starts brushing up against her. Yes, in the wrong kind of a way. He comments on her bra. He comments on the fact that he thinks she's good looking. Does she have a boyfriend? He offered her tips on dating. After the weekend, he always, that lech in his voice, he says, well, what did you do this weekend? And she's 21, she's fairly sophisticated. And she's 21, she knows what's going on, but it's making her very uncomfortable. She talks to my daughter and she comes to see me. And I explain the law to her and how it works. The law says an employer has to provide his or her employees with a workplace that's free of sexual harassment, sexual innuendo, the kind of sexual comments that can reasonably make somebody else unhappy or uncomfortable. And what this guy was doing to this 21-year-old girl was clearly what was going on. It was making her very uncomfortable. She needed the money to pay for tuition and for books in the fall. She's going to college. She didn't want to lose the job. What does she do? Well, what an employee has to do immediately is to look at the person who's doing it and say, stop it. This makes me very uncomfortable. You can't do it. If you're working in an organization where a coworker is doing it to you, not the boss, you have to tell your immediate supervisor about it. It's more difficult in this little ice cream store where the boss is the one who's doing it, because the boss has to provide the place that's free of sexual harassment. If you tell a supervisor about it and the supervisor says, well, boys will be boys, or don't get upset about it, what's the big deal? You do have nice breasts, you know, something outrageous like that, then they've got problems because they are not solving the problem. They're not providing their worker with a place that's free of that kind of nonsense and horrific behavior. You can't do that anymore. Once you tell the boss or a supervisor that it has to stop, and it does stop, that's the end of the story. The problem is taken care of. You gave the boss an opportunity to do something about it, and he or she did. If the boss doesn't do something about it or shines you on, then you can go talk to a lawyer, because then you've got a case where you can sue. You've got damages. If the boss does nothing about it, then go talk to a lawyer. An employer has to provide an employee with a workplace environment that's free of sexual harassment. The kind of sexual innuendo that this guy is doing to this young lady can make anybody uncomfortable. You can't do that anymore. What I told Melissa, the girl being harassed, to do was immediately tell her boss, stop it! You can't do this anymore! It makes me very uncomfortable and you can't do it. The boss has to stop it then. You know, it's a lot easier if it's a coworker doing it to you and you tell a supervisor. But when the only one you can report to is the boss, tell the boss to stop it. If the supervisor or the boss shines you on and say, what's the big deal? Can't you take a joke? Boys will be boys, or even worse, well, you do have nice breasts, something crazy like that. If they permit the behavior to go on, then you can go talk to a lawyer. Then a lawyer will be interested in taking your case, and the lawyer will write a letter to the boss and maybe sue that boss, and you'll get some money, and I guarantee the problem will stop. Once somebody gets sued for this stuff, they don't do it anymore. Take my word for it. Also, You've got to differentiate between being a jerk and sexual harassment. There's no law, unfortunately, I suppose, against being a jerk. So if someone says things that are annoying or stupid, but not sexual harassment, you could ask them to stop. You can say, this hurts me, but that's not a case for you to run to lawyers. So let me summarize this. An employer has a duty to prevent this kind of behavior. And an employer can get in a lot of trouble and get sued when an employer knows about this behavior, this sexual harassment, and permits it to go on. So you have to report it, and you have to tell them to stop before you've got a case. I've got a webpage, lechery.com. If you want more information about this, there's more information posted. I've got columns about it. I do columns that are in a bunch of newspapers about legal matters. Or send me an email. We answer all the emails we get, lechery.com. My firm does trusts and estates, who gets your stuff when you die, probate law if somebody dies with a will, civil litigation, sexual harassment cases, unlawful termination, wrongful discharge, medical malpractice. We do litigation and trusts and estates. Keep us in mind. Send us an email. I'm Len Tillem. I want to be your video lawyer.